Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Lee Snyder, the product manager for the steel segment here at Tekla Inc. And what I'll be showing today is a quick presentation about a new extension available for download on the Tekla warehouse. It's called Grid from Parts. So what this tool allows me to do is to create a grid automatically from selected objects or from all the objects in the model without me manually having to launch the create grid command, type in all of the X, Y, and Z coordinates and all of the labels. This will go through and will automate that. So the workflow would be that if you received a model and there wasn't a grid created, or you received an IFC file that you converted into native objects in Tekla or imported a CIS2 file, then you could go through and just use this tool to automatically generate the grid for you. So I'll go ahead and launch this tool, just explain some of the different sections here. The first one here is the profile type inclusion filters. If I run this from selected or from all, this is the search criteria that it's going to use when creating filters. So if this tool finds a column, it's going to create a grid intersection for the X and Y coordinate, and it's also going to create a Z elevation for the column at the start and the end handle. So the yellow handle here and the magenta handle at the top will be included in the Z. For any beams that are found, it will create a Z elevation for that as well, specifically looking at the handles or the top of steel in this case because of the way that it's oriented or situated. So if you select or have objects in the model that don't meet these profile types, then they'll be ignored when we go through and run this. So if you go to the Tekla user assistance and type in profile type, you can see a list of all of the profile types. So by default for the columns, I'm looking at the I profiles, so like our wide flange shapes. I'm looking at round tubes and rectangular tubes, so the M, R, O, and I. And then for beams, I'm just pulling in the I. And just to show you how this would work is that here, for example, if I came in and just selected, I'll just select this bay, you can see that I have beams, I have a WT's, braces in there, and then these columns. So if I just get that, hit get from selected, you can see the elevations of the tops of steels that were used to come in and create this. So I have the 12-foot 7.5 because it only found the beams based on my filters. So if, for example, I wanted it to also use the T's, then I could just come in and input that here, click on get from selected, and then now I'm going to have this 11-foot 10.5, which is used as another elevation. So this is a little quick introduction as to how those filters work. So I'm just going to remove that for now. Just click on clear. The next thing would be the line extensions. So this is very similar to here if you were coming in and creating a grid and using this line extension here, just matching those exact properties, whatever you would want those values to be. And then the X coordinates, these will be populated when you hit get from selected or get from all. And then the labels obviously will just be a match of those, and then you can go in and modify those as needed or as required. So if I just window in this area here, I can just click on get from selected. It will go through, populate all my X and my Y coordinates in my Z axes as well. And then for the labels, this is going to start at X. Or at A for the X, and then at 1 for the Y, and then just number all the way on up from there. If you want, at any time you can come in and you can manually modify this. So if I wanted to create a grid elevation at 0, then I could do that, and then I can just copy paste this here so that my labels match, and then I can just click on create grid. It will go through and place that there. It's going to find the leftmost bottommost column to begin the placement of A1 and then build from there. And then if you double click on this, this would just be normal grid properties, just as if you had created it yourself. So there's one example. Let me go to the next one. You'll notice when I created this, this building right now is square to the UCS currently here within the model. So if you have a skewed grid, I'll show you how you can handle and control that. So I'm just going to filter out phase 1. Let's filter in phase 2. Okay, it brings in this building. Again, if I go to plan view, you can see that it's skewed. We also have some sloping beams up here on the top, which will be ignored automatically by this tool. So if I wanted to come in and create this, here, I'll just create it first just the normal way, is that if I come in and say get from selected, you're going to see a whole laundry list of values that are plugged in here because it's creating it square to where the user coordinate system is, which in this case isn't the output that we would want. So I'm just going to undo that, clear this, and then what I can do is I can come down here and I can set my work plane. I'm just going to set it using 2 points. Just pick from column to column so that my work plane is now set. And now what I can do is I can just select that specific area, click on get from selected, and it's going to be a much smaller list, just as we would expect. Okay, so prior to creating, I'm just going to interrogate this a little more in depth. If I look at my Z elevation specifically is what I'm interested in, I have the -1 foot 7.5, which is the bottom of these larger columns on the perimeter. Then I have the -10.5, which is the bottom of column for these smaller columns here on the interior. And then I have 23 foot 6, which is basically the top of steel for these floor beams. And then I have this 50 foot 10, which is the top of steel for these little stubs or these outriggers going on here. And then the 59 foot 8 is the top of column here, and then 66.3 is the top of column over here, and then nothing for those sloping members as previously explained. So little editing of this. I wouldn't want the grid to be created here at this particular level, for example, so I can just come in and delete that out, copy this down, click on create grid. It goes through and produces that, places it in the proper location, and then if I double click and open this up, I can see all of these other values. And then of course we have the save load options just as any normal Tekla tool would. So there, in just a matter of a couple seconds, without me having to pull in dimensions or bring in a DWG or DXF as a reference to help me create it, I can just select the members, produce my grid, and then be on my way working with the project. So again, this tool is available for download on the Tekla warehouse. Please send us any feedback that you may have, and we hope you enjoy this new development.